Hey guys, I just said that I would do a comparison video between Under the Red Hood and Mask of the Phantasm, so here it is. Now, I really don't have notes about this, more so I just watched the movies in depth yesterday and made a few mental notes and whatnot, maybe because my appendix almost exploded, so that's how I was bedridden all day, so I thought that I might as well take advantage of that. Anyway, so we're going to break this up into a few categories and whatnot, and then I'll just give my final notes. First category is production. Mask of the Phantasm film was basically right at the height of the animated film, the animated series, and it looked really good. Like, there was still some familiar art. Like, it wasn't too over the top. If anything, it's not like what the Simpsons did with their Simpsons movie. It basically, there was some extra CG that was thrown in, especially with the opening credits, but really the art and everything is still the same, and it's still awesome because it's totally and exactly what we loved about the animated universe. Sure, there's a few things that I just think are ridiculous. Basically, it's all that Tim Burton crap of all those giant-ass statues in the city and all this gothic theme crap, and that's the thing that I never really liked about the Tim Burton movies, is just because I couldn't take it seriously, because you know, there's this town that has this backward-ass technology. There's a Batman who has all this futuristic crap, and then there's people who are driving 1930s cars. So, and for some reason, it works for me in the animated universe. I don't have a problem with it, but that's it. That's just talking about it. But of course, since it was the TV show, and there really hadn't been a big animated movie by Warner Brothers for comic book characters before, the budget, obviously, you can see how sometimes the frame rate slows down. There's also points where it's like basically you were watching the TV movie, and that's exactly what it was meant to be. It only came out for DVD, right? So, coming the Red Hood, obviously a bigger budget because this is right at the peak of when the animated films were doing amazingly well, and it unfortunately it totally is the better of the two, just because it has much better art style. Just, it's updated, it's got a bigger budget, and the fight scenes. The fight scenes are fantastic. In the original, there really isn't many. There's that really kind of funny scene where there's a scene where he fights the bikers and he jumps on the front of the bike and he runs up in the air and he punches the guy in the face in slow motion, which is awesome, but it's kind of funny. But then you watch the Red Hood, and Red Hood is graphic and it's intense and is really vivid in movement, and there's just so much to it. And then also just the overall city and the art and the shading and everything it's prime, it's top notch. So obviously, just because more so budget wise, and obviously we're more in the future, this is a given to the Red Hood, obviously. So Red Hood wins in the purpose of production. Not saying that Mask of the Phantasm didn't do well with what it had. It did amazing with what it had, but obviously just because of its time and when it was made, Red Hood is much better. So now comes voice characters. Now this is a one that I know if I choose something else that I will piss everyone off, and don't worry, you know what I'm going to get, but I will still go through it. Red Hood is great. They actually chose some really good voice actors. The fact that they didn't have any of either the original two, the Batman as Kevin Conroy or Joker being Mark Hamill, is really good. You would think that sometimes it's not been great. They've chosen Jeremy Sisto as Batman once before, and he was, this recent choice of using Jason O'Mar in the last two, War and now Son of Batman, is, So, the fact that Bruce Greenwood has only been asked once, ever, and he's never come back. I don't know why they've never asked him to come back, because I honestly thought he's been a lot better than the recent choices. But he does this great, he gives you this good feel that he is a fallen father, or a failed father for that matter, and he's trying to reconnect with his son. He's trying to fix something that was broken, that he lost. But there are times, though, that he sounds like he's reading it right off the paper. It seems really forced. Like, you're becoming a crime lord. It's just, that doesn't, I don't know, he doesn't give you that full, like, this only happens a few times, but it's just kind of throws you out a little bit, if you're really noticing that closely. And then there's Jensen Ackles, who also does a great job at the Red Hood. He really gives you that kind of brooding hatred, that idea that he is a son that just is so angry that his father failed to avenge him. That's all he's wanting, is just because he wondered, like, if there was anything that would make Batman kill someone, it would be having him die. So the fact that his Joker is still alive is what is really making him so angry and so vengeful. But, again, there are some points where the dialogue is... I even think Jensen Ackles thought it's like, really? I have to say that? Where it's like, antiquated sense of morality. It's just all... He's really poetic with what he says. And that is from the comics, I will grant that. But it's kind of odd, really, I think. Then John DiMaggio. John DiMaggio... I never thought Bender would be a good Joker. But he was. He was actually really good. He... really gives you that kind of crazy guy kind of character. Not that Mark Hamill didn't already, but he kind of gives that more childish... His voice is more of a childish sort of sense, but his actions are more of a brutal sense, almost more brutal than that of Mark Hamill's Joker. So I'm going to say that he does the childish and the funnier parts, I almost say, sometimes better. The laugh is still pretty good. It's not... the problem is I could say as much as I could try and convince myself that John DiMaggio is better than Mark Hamill, but he's not. He's obviously basing himself off what Mark Hamill did. So whoever takes the Joker after is always taking on Mark Hamill's Joker. So, really, I think John DiMaggio did a great job, but obviously that is why I'm going to talk about Mask of the Phantasm. Everyone's great. I almost can't complain. No one is bad in this movie. Everyone's voice is great. Everyone plays their part oh so well. There's this great tone in the characters. Harvey Bullock is kind of odd because he's still kind of against Batman, even though, if I'm correct, we're past the episodes where he and Batman have teamed up once or twice before now. I'm not sure. I thought at least. Yeah, Kevin Conroy is the Batman. He's great. You never have that feeling that he's reading off the script. He is doing his job. He is the Batman. And that is great. Like, there's that scene where he's talking to his mom, to his grave, and when he's talking about how he's fallen in love with Andrea, he's like, I never meant to be happy. I never knew this would happen. Can you please forgive me? I know I promised, but this is better. Isn't this better for me now? Like, that's really deep. Like, holy crap. I completely forgot that part was in the movie when I watched it before, so that scene is so good. Like, Kevin Conroy just nails it there. And then, of course, there's Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is awesome. He really makes you even creepier. He gives you this creepier version of Joker before and never before. Oh, I'm so messed up with this. But yeah, he's worse than before. I think it's just because they give you that little bit of origin almost to him. And the fact that you know that he had a hand in what happened with Andrea's father is even better, because it's just, whoa, that's so intense. That's so crazy. And yeah, of course, just Mark Hamill's the best. Like, Mark Hamill did everything. So obviously voice cast goes to Mask of the Phantasm just because it is the original cast. And you cannot beat that, no matter how hard you try. So now, story. Now here's something I actually noticed when I was watching Mask of the Phantasm last night. Under the Red Hood and Mask of the Phantasm share the same story. Essentially. Now, listen to me here. The Batman fighting a vigilante who is taking out crime better than him. But this vigilante has something to do with something that Batman lost. He is a piece of what Batman lost in his past. And the whole story is trying to reconnect with this fallen person, with this vigilante, and this vigilante is basically trying to prove that what he did is wrong, like what Batman does is wrong. And then the Joker gets thrown in the middle, and the vigilante character dies, and the Joker is saved, even though he should be dead. So that is Under the Red Hood and Mask of the Phantasm. I basically just described both of them at the same time, because Red Hood, Andrea's the Phantasm. Lost son, lost love. Taking out crime bosses leading up to the Joker, taking out crime bosses that had a hand in her father's, what happened with her father. Joker gets pulled in because that's who he wants in the end. Joker gets pulled in because that's who she wants in the end. So, really, when you think about it, John Winnick kind of ripped off Mask of the Phantasm. Now, I'm not saying that it's identical, totally identical, it's not, but it really follows the same sort of timeline if you think about it. It's creepy how close they are. And so, but then again, Mask of the Phantasm is almost year one in a sense, because he keeps on going with all these flashbacks of when he was training and how he met Andrea. But really, Mask of the Phantasm is so original in its idea that it kind of set itself up as one of the great stories of Batman. It is, if they made it into a graphic novel, it would have been one of the best graphic novels of all time, no doubt, because it is a story that has been used by comics in the future. It has been used to the sense that what the idea of a vengeful vigilante in comparison with Batman, and this conflict of rights and values and moral lessons is constantly at it. It's always been in the background of almost every Batman story you can think of that's been major. So really, Phantasm wins just because it's what was technically the Red Hood is based off of. Red Hood is still an awesome story. I love the comic. I love the movie. But Mask of the Phantasm is the better story just because, really, it set the groundwork. It set the groundwork for all these other sort of Batman stories. And it also was amazing. It's got Paul Dini, Boyd Kirkland, Bruce Timm. You love these guys, right? These guys who made your animated Batman childhood. So now, moral lesson. Now this is something I wanted to throw in. These are both points from individual scenes from both movies. Mask of the Phantasm has, when he's at this grave, and he's at his parents' grave, and he's asking them, can I pull back on my promise? I never intended to be happy. I have figured out what... I found someone who loves me, and I love her, and I don't want to do this anymore. I can't be a man who goes out into the night and expecting someone to be waiting for me at home. Now, they've tried this before, especially with Hush. I don't know. It kind of worked, but I don't know. I like Jeff Loeb's stories, but man, Hush I've always found has been overrated in a sense. So, yeah, there's that. So the idea of Batman going against his original promise, this moral obligation of love over promise, over vows and whatnot. Red Hood has something that I feel has been used to death by friggin' Scott Snyder in his recent 52 Batman run, is the idea of the why doesn't Batman kill. So that's at the end when Jason Todd is asking him, why did you not kill Joker? Is it because it's too hard to cross that line? And Batman's like, no, God, no. It'd only be too easy. And he's afraid that if he does do it, that he would never come back. He would become a killer. And it's not to say that what Batman does isn't really stupid. It is smart, because really beating up the guys and then taking them to their Arkham and then having them escape again, there's this constant idea that, people just keep getting out. But they did a lot better technically in the Batman movies, because, once you get rid of corruption, then crime can, stay in jail. Unlike in the Batman comics, where apparently, the jailhouse is made out of butter and people just run through it. So, but in the movie, the idea of him not crossing the line is because he's afraid of what he will become. Now, this is unfortunate. I really want to go with Red Hood here, because Red Hood has offered this idea of what Batman has had to struggle with all his life, and it's great. But the thing is, it's been overdone to death, and I think it's just because of that reason, just because of how good this was and how much it's been twirled down the toilet, that I have to go with Phantasm, because Phantasm has offered something that I haven't really seen. It's been done to a sense, like there was in the Grant Morrison's run, and then also in Mark Waid with the Monster Men, there was that love interest, and they're similar. But really, Phantasm really touched on it. In that one scene, touched on so much emotionality and originality in a sense that it can't be beat just because of how great that scene is. And that's why I have to say Phantasm wins that. I like Red Hood at the moment. It switches back, I swear to God. It switches back and forth. Sometimes I like Phantasm more, sometimes I like Red Hood more. But right now, I like Red Hood more. But in the end, Phantasm wins, of course, obviously. Just because Phantasm is the thing that set up everything. It set up how the DC Universe has expanded off of it. It pretty much paved the way for everything amazing that has been in Batman and in the DC universe. And I really, really, really hate that Jeff Johns is getting so much attention because this guy pretty much screwed up DC. At first I was like, okay, maybe I'll go with it, okay, I'll think about it. But now I just can't stand the guy anymore. The guy has basically run over everything that DC had. And it's turned off so many people. Everyone's going to Marvel. I actually bought a freaking Marvel comic last year because of how much I hate the DC universe. And all I've ever bought is Batman. Yeah, anyway, Phantasm wins. But that's it. I hope this hasn't wasted your guys' time. I know there's probably a lot more stuff I could talk about, but that's the things that I could think of when I was watching those two movies. Also, I had an appendix almost explode, so you cannot blame me for that. That hurt. That hurt a lot. Just give me your guys' thoughts on if you watched this all the way through. Thank you. I did not expect that. But if you guys have any sort of ideas of what you think about these two movies, if you would like to see other comparisons. So anyway, yeah, guys, so tell me what you think. If you like this video, please tell me. You know, maybe we can talk about it. Anyway, that's all from me, guys. See you later.